Why United States is the devil? Big statement. And I don't have anything really personal against anybody, except that I want to see people be happy. So saying this comes from the good of heart. So please watch this whole video before you say anything, because it might cause you bad experiences from having bad perspectives. There's a quote: cover your heart in truth, and one day it will turn into a lie. I actually made this quote myself, it's in my book. And the problem comes from growing, really. I was obsessed with BMWs when I was little. I thought it was the best car ever. It looked good, it was comfy, I would sit in it, I would drive it, and I thought, this is it. This is the best car ever, 220 horsepower. It was a little E90 328i. And with time, I used to get in this car, and my happiness would disappear for it. Because as I experience something that is perfect, my brain continues to find little faults in it to make possibility for something better. And that's what all of our brains kind of want, this change and growth. We're not very still creatures. And then I will realize maybe it's not that reliable. Maybe I don't really like the transmission. You hit the gas pedal, it takes a long time to start running, And with being in this time, my consciousness of what a perfect car looks grows. And one day I will sit in the perfect car that was a perfect car at one point in time, and I'll be like, I don't like this car. And there might be a point where I don't even realize this consciously, and I would just keep getting in the car, and it would put me in a bad mood, and I could forever suffer in this BMW. But let's say eventually I realized that, I wanted more reliable, good transmission, maybe car that's better on gas. So now I moved to a Corolla, a nice Toyota, the perfect transmobile for A to B destination. And again, my heart grew, and I would sit in this car, and I would drive it, and I would love how well the radio Bluetooth connects. I love their reliability. I love the gas mileage. And eventually, again, my brain will continue to wonder and want more, because it's the natural process. And then I'll realize I want a more comfy car, maybe more horsepower. Maybe I don't even want to be in a car in the fucking first place. I don't want to go to the mechanic every single day. Maybe I start thinking that trains are cool. Forget about the problem of everything about cars. Put me in a fucking train. Well, let's get out of here. I can drive that while drunk, but I can't do it with a car. It is maybe a little better point of transportation in general. And that's how I believe your heart and mind continues to grow. Put a human in any perfect scenario, and you'll continue to find faults. And I believe this has happened to the United States. I believe the United States was an amazing place, and it truly was. And what made the United States bad is not people, not like specific actions or specific leaders or specific politicians or specific laws. It's the human nature itself. We continue to, as we lived in this great country for 50 years now, our beliefs and views of what a better country could be continued to grow, didn't it? We continue to learn from research. We continue to learn from experiences, other country examples. TikTok is not a great piece of media, but there's a lot of incoming information that brings us a lot of perspective. And that, with time, our vision of what a perfect country has grown. Has it not? If I asked you to imagine a perfect country, which is heaven, you wouldn't simply say, "Oh, I'm there right now, boy." You would give me a different probably list, because that's what minds are done. United States has become the devil, not because it's evil, because we have grown. And I believe it continues to hold on to the same values consciously, which is building a Tower of Babylon. Let me give you the best example of its aim. Like I said before, like if you're thinking about BMWs, you were being your conscious goal and your mind has grown, wondering a little bit better, What is the United States goal that is holding on right now, that is causing tension between people? And I believe that to be money. The number one problem with money is this: how much money would companies make if I created a pill that solved death? Cut your arm off, it healed back immediately. It stopped all diseases. It allowed you to live in space. It made you immortal. How much would the health industry, the insurance companies, the doctors would make? If I solve the problem completely for humans, which is my goal as a human, I don't know what your goal is then, to permanently solve problems, is that you wouldn't make any money. Isn't that true? If I solve the problem completely, there's no market. If I created a perfect teleportation system, that was, let's say, the whole system is made by by AI. They just assembled that shit for free, and the bots that are assembled by others. Or we could teleport by our minds and teleport things, ourselves and other things. How much money would a transportation industry make? None. The market exists as long as the wound is open. Money represents not how much success we have, but the depth of pain that people are experiencing. And now we put ourselves in two types of perspectives. Is our goal to keep this wound open forever and make as much money as possible and drive a Lamborghini? Or is our goal to close down the problem and ensure that people don't continue to suffer from this thing? United States is a place that values money and worships it and makes it the number one goal, is it not? We measure our success with money, income. You don't ask which country is the best and measure it by population. Surely don't do that. You ask which country is the best. You don't measure it by happiness. There's a lot better, happier places in the world than America by statistics. America is number one because of the economical power it has. And that's how we measure success. And that measure of success only indicates the amount of people that continue to suffer from this problem. We have put our aim on keeping the wound open instead of closing it. And that's why the world feels like there's an invisible force to continue to make you look like an Illuminati that's working against humanity to make you suffer. Because there is. And it's other people with bad aim. Let me tell you the greatest joke you'll ever hear. How to destroy the United States. This is how you do it. You simply don't attack the military. Don't worry about that. You don't need to kidnap any of the politicians either. It's pointless. To destroy America, all you have to do is solve people's problems. Let's say transportation. Everybody drives the vehicles on the roads, and there's a better solution to this. Trains, they travel 600 kilometers an hour. They're pretty damn fast, a lot more reliable. It fits a lot more people, and it requires a lot less demand from an individual of attention each single day. We have solutions for individual problems to a much higher potency, but we do not implement these because there won't be any jobs. There won't be any money. There won't be people spending money on tires. There won't be people spending money on engines. There won't be people spending money on mechanics. There won't be people spending money on insurance. There won't be many people spending on the roads. If we implement the next best thing for people to actually solve their problems, millions of jobs will disappear. And this is available in every single sector. Let's talk about health. Do you know the solution to cancer? How I can increase your life expectancy by 40 years? Simply by giving the food that humans require the most. People would live 30, 40 years longer, and you would be able to enjoy your family much, much longer. But again, and if I just focused on these 5 foods to provide for society, we did, not I, we would have a healthy society. But again, most of the industries like chips, I don't know, like cakes, all the foods that don't require would go out of business. And we wouldn't have so much economy if we don't dilute and trouble our people and continue to make them suffer. Another thing is education. It's free. It's literally all there. We can all give it out online and give it all to people again for free. But again, there won't be any jobs. So the conclusion is, if you wanted to truly destroy America, all you have to do is solve people's problems, to give them the best life possible, to actually end their suffering. And America would collapse on its own system. Isn't that crazy? Tell me I'm not a little crazy. This is like literally, boom. This is a real thing. I believe our generation to be a little sick. I guess one of the big things you can do as a parent is to ensure that your kids don't suffer from the same problems as the next generation. Because that's pointless, isn't it? If I was hungry, I don't want my kids to be hungry. So let's say your family makes a lot of money. Let's say finally they did it. They overcame these problems and they throw their kids into the economy again. Isn't that hilarious? To continue to suffer on the same problem and not continue to focus on bigger problems. And what ends up happening, the economy is not really like in a goal to solve people's problems, but continue to keep them open. So it's like a family finally has sinned enough to cause enough problems to finally get free, just to throw their kids into the same pit. And what it really ends up happening, imagine like a wheel that's spinning in mud, but the wheel is covered in nails and it's spinning into the core of the earth. That's what the economy is really focused on. It's not about bettering things, because it wouldn't be anything to better if we solve all the problems. It's nasty. And this is, I believe, like the number one reason why people are so depressed, anxious, and angry. Because what happens with your biology is that you do continue to learn all these values of what a better system would look like. But they don't spend time, that your unconscious mind learns it through all the things you experience, and then you have to supposed to bring it to your conscious mind and then like have an image of what heaven looks like. A lot of people don't do this imagery work, but their bodies still, if you approached, let's say, that problem in real life, like a job that doesn't actually, like McDonald's, which doesn't actually make anything better in society, continues to like make people fat, not focusing on the core problem of what food is supposed to be healthy, fast, and taste good, and cheap. That's what the whole point is, to bring problems to its ultimate solution. And people are like, their parents and society telling, get a job, you did. And they try to put themselves in these work environments that don't reflect their values of what ultimate heaven is. And they're like, I feel anxious, I feel depressed, and I don't know why. They feel anxious and depressed and angry because they continue to put themselves in places they don't believe. You don't grow in those places. You do not provide creative value. People are having trouble finding good minimum wage employees because there is no such thing. To find a good, true minimum wage employee these days, they have to be dead brain stupid to have their values be so low that they're accepting this as a normal course of pushment for their future, or they're super desperate. It is a disgusting little thing. So yes, I do want to say that people are not crazy. These people who are not choosing to work are not scared. They're just not able to communicate that the world they see does not align with what they want. So hot dangity dang, how do we fix this problem? I think where I got the solution for this kind of problem is actually from my own experience. It's where we get all of our solutions to our external life. And that's kind of related to the cells in our body. As a human, do you worry about how the cells work, where they go, how they carry oxygen, how do the white blood cells fight negative things in our system, how our heart pumps blood, or does it all happen automatically? And I believe at some point in our society, but in points in our lives, very early on, we were responsible for all these things consciously. But then we found the problem, the happy medium between what is right and wrong, and it became unconscious part of ourselves. So we continue to move the problems of horizon forward. Society would have never grown if we continued to consciously, when we're little cells or something, to continue paying attention to the same problems. If we want society to grow, we have to put people in different problems. That society will not grow if we continue to put people in jobs like Uber, doctors, or I don't know, engineers. The problem's horizon has to move forward. And this is what I believe a true relationship between the government and people is. That the government is becoming like an unconscious part of our body built into a reality. So what this really means that the government is supposed to look at all the problems that society is having and implement them into our daily lives. Like how it does with roads, okay? They said, don't worry about roads, we'll take care of it. They continue to add things to the foundation of problems that are solved. So we continue to look at a higher problems. So like, I believe the best thing a government could do is like, okay, we'll take care of food, we'll take care of housing, we'll take care of transportation. We have looked at the market, what it has provided, and we have gonna take it into our system, like how we don't take care of our self-body unconsciously, so continue move the problems forward. And you can focus on greater things. Or do you want to continue spending 20,000 years into the future still worrying about your fucking insurance? Worrying about how you're going to pay rent? That's not how a higher society looks like. It probably looks nothing like what our current society looks like. Isn't that true? I believe in life you'll become anything you'll focus your attention on, specifically problems. If you focus to be an Uber driver, you'll become a great driver, an excellent one. And I believe people are so focused like, oh, this is your IQ and this is what you'll achieve. I think whatever you put your attention on, you'll become malleable like water, to able to achieve it. I just want to give you a perspective of how much of the human potential is truly wasted of us doing pointless jobs that could be replaced by technology in a day if we really wanted to. Right now we're also focused on being like vending machine businesses or like selling e-commerce. Let me be a stock trader. Let me resell cars. And you'll become those things. I guarantee you, you'll win. But what I offer you is a higher outcome of yourself. What you've been missing out by taking on these little problems is a higher version of yourself. And I want to ask you the question, what would you become? Instead of refocusing like the same problems like insurance and rent or whatever, what would you become if you focused on, let's say, bringing humanity to heaven, to bring what heaven would look like on earth? You can take on any problem in this world and your body will give you the resources to become that. Who would you become then? Let's say you wanted to ensure that humanity exists through all space and time. Do you think that will not be possible? Or rather, how amazing of a person would you become then? Take on the highest possible problems to see the most fruitful life. It's enough suffering about these pointless things. And I actually have a proof, an example. Even a little autistic, silly, retarded man who focuses on expanding to the universe could become a multi-billionaire genius expert of understanding. And that example is Elon Musk. He probably is not a super genius, a super intellect. He had put his aim where he would become the highest person. That's the only difference between you and Elon Musk. And I want to have an earth filled with him. How great of a society would have if we all stepped away from these silly little jobs that can be replaced by robots, better technology. What kind of a boom of information, research, and technology would we have? You can't even imagine. I can't even imagine it, but it would be fucking sick. In conclusion, America is the devil because it has taken the most powerful things in the world, and instead of focusing of destroying these problems, what it has now tools to do so, it continues to focus on money as the ultimate good and missing the point of how to actually make society better. The goal is to never have these problems again. And I believe that if we can fix America, not by power or physical actions like protests, but by education, by you understanding what is right. A part of America or any country also understands what is correct. My biggest problem with this is like, okay, Mr. Dominic, so smart, but what if we do solve all these problems? How are we gonna run the economy? How are we going to make money? How am I gonna get a reward for being such a good boy? And I believe this is the funniest part about money. We spend our whole lives trying to make enough money so we can start doing what we believe in. We continue to put money in our systems like it is the solution to our hearts. But there's a lot of people who are very rich who are still sad and even take their lives. Surprise, surprise. Maybe what we really need to be paid for is not in money, but how we feel about this world. Maybe that's the only payment we have been looking for this whole time. Because eventually when you got to the money part and actually start doing what you wanted, you would be happy. Maybe we just need to get people to a point in society where they feel that they can get to those problems right away, and their system will actually pay them and what they've been looking for in money this whole time. Positive feelings. Positive feelings that allow you to be happy with what the world is and you're aligned with yourself. So every single day, you're not paid in money, but you're paid in complete ecstasy of knowing you are doing the best thing for Earth. I think money has just been a replacement for what we've truly been seeking in ourselves. Yes, America is a little bit of a devil. And I believe that it will one day be an amazing place again. Until then, share this video and become something bigger by taking on something nicer. Yeah. In conclusion, if you want to beat the devil, all you have to do is to again recenter yourself on what you believe to be true. But remember this, ethics is not made in stone. And the new world that people will bring on will eventually become a lie. Good luck, noobs.